It is time for the Mike Hewitt Show, brought to you by RenegadeRiver.com. What a glorious day in the world, Mr. Hewitt.
I got to tell you, leading up to the day today, we were debating back and forth. Do we remember remember when the Hindenburg came down and you had all the humanity of it? Do we want to have Brian cut that one in, or like the 76 trombone song? Which one's it going to be? And listen, I am beat. I'm way too old to be up till 4 in the morning, but what a glorious victory! So that was my attempt at humility. Listen, welcome to the Mike Hewitt Show. Got Ludwig von Wiedendorsky in the studio. Miles Bauer, my co-hosts. Welcome, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Shortly, we're going to be joined by Congressman Huizenga, and somewhere late in the show, we're going to have Trevor Loudon, who is an author from New Zealand, join us. And with Trevor, I'm looking for trying to get the outside feel. How's of course, the media tells me that the world is stunned and they're spinning out of control. So I want to get Trevor's view as a New Zealander's point of view. What's the outtake from the outside looking in? And of course, Congressman Huizenga will help us dial into some numbers. He knows most of the folks that we're talking about, at least in state Michigan. And by the way, folks, in case you're not aware, the great state of Michigan is red. It went for Donald Trump. It kept its state house. It kept its state senate. What a great morning. Now listen, on the other side of it, I joked about the humility thing. Ludwig and I have both been in the losing chairs, and I don't want to pretend that I don't get the pain. I understood last night. I knew what was going on, by the way, when Podesta came out, and then the next thing you hear is that Trump was on his way. There was no question in my mind what we were watching, and I immediately reflected back to me sitting in my little campaign headquarters when I lost in the 89th District in 2006. And you got a whole bunch of really great people that have contributed time and money and effort, personal tears. It ain't a nice conversation. And I felt for her. I don't like her. I don't support her idea. In fact, I personally dislike her. But there is still a humanity thing here. I've been through it. I got it. And I felt bad for her. On the other hand, I feel great for the United States because we need to have the tables flipped over. We need to have someone bring a new voice in. Miles, were you a little bit excited? I think you slept through it. You woke up this morning to some great news.
Yeah, I did not quite make it to the finish line last night, although I was quite pleased this morning when I woke up. I think the outsiders are referring to this as Trexit, as opposed to Brexit.
Right.
And I think, Matt and I kind of felt all along there's something wrong with the polls. I think Matt and I texted you multiple times like, I just don't see this thing coming down the way they're telling us it's going to come down.
I agree with you. My only saving grace there is I'm staying by my prediction at the beginning of this year for my final show of 2015. I was a cruiser, but I predicted Trump would win. I also predicted, remember, that Obama would pardon Hillary. We've not seen that story unwind yet. And I also predicted that Obama would get caught up in his own scandal. So we've still got a...
I think he got it, though, because his scandal is going to be that email thing.
Yeah, you may be right with that. You may be exactly right with that. It was, of course, the electoral victory was pretty significant, but we would be remiss if we didn't point out that the United States is really evenly divided. The numbers are fluctuating. The last I saw it, the popular vote was in Hillary's favor, although she dramatically lost the electoral. The difference is the raw numbers of people in California. Having said that, we're really a divided nation. We really are. There's completely two separate, complete ideologies. And, of course, there's factions within both of those groups. But, I mean, we're watching this time after time. I hear a lot of people say this is the most contentious campaign. And no, it's not, folks. We've been seeing this for a very long time. I mean, Lincoln Douglas was not exactly a friendly race. I mean,
but you know what, Mike? I would say one thing. My wife, who was a never Trumper.
Yep. How'd she vote?
Even she conceded at the end that Trump would win, and as I texted you, I almost drove off the side of the road when she actually said that.
Yeah. How did she put it? She said she was starting to be. How'd she put it, Miles?
She was an early voter for the third party,
right?
But I mean, at the very end, I think she even kind of said, if I had to do it over again, I would have voted for Trump, that was huge for me. I mean, I still can't believe it, but I mean, it just tells you for the female never Trumpers, they did eventually come around. It may have been too late in some cases, but they did eventually come around.
You know, what's interesting about the thing you just said, though, with the female part of that comment, because when I looked at all of the pictures I could find, even locally in Grand Rapids with Trump's visit, Brenda Brown's pictures of the event she went to in Las Vegas, Nevada, if you start doing a head count just looking at the picture, and I would literally blow up the picture on my iPad so that I could see it better. You start doing a head count, there were more women than there were men in every rally picture I could find.
Landon noticed it. He's 11 years old when we were in Grand Rapids.
Yep.
He goes, on the way home, Danny, there's a lot more women in youth there than what they say. There's way more women than there were guys, though.
He's exactly right. There really were, in every picture I could find. So, as this thing unfolds over the next couple months, this is going to be dissected and debated, and how did this tragedy happen? And, I mean, if you watched the media last night, Miles, I wish you would have held on, because I thought Juan Williams I thought his head was going to explode. The people on CBS looked like they were looking for Kool-Aid to do a mass suicide.
Brian Williams.
It was just fascinating, clicking from network to network. They were literally in mourning. They were devastated. They just couldn't imagine, how the socialists could have lost, which is really what we're talking about, but also how could they be that wrong?
It was easy.
Yeah.
We saw this miles away. Everybody kept asking me over the last few weeks, is he going to win? He's going to win. I said, he's going to win in a landslide. It'll be 290-plus electoral votes. And everybody looked at me, it was crazy. They're like, he doesn't even have a path to 250, and you're saying over 290. And I'm like, yeah, I'm telling you. The closet Trumpers are coming out. You have not seen it. You are not hearing about it.
You said the closet Trumpers, but Miles has been using a term, the shy Trumpers. And I heard that on the media lately.
I heard that on the news.
I heard it on the media. I said, they've been listening to Miles, because he's been saying that for months. One of the things, though, that I've got to bring up again, it's your fault, Miles. Back in March, when you first joined the show, we talked for a couple episodes and pieces and parts about the restructuring of the post-World War II political party mechanisms. Folks, if you start digging into the demographics, there's some changing, and it just happened. It wasn't no longer idle conversation on a radio show. You look at the numbers of who voted for where, what states moved. Michigan, first time since 1988. It wasn't in play. It went Trump. These are some big things. The parties are going to be just exactly as you predicted. By the time we get to the other end of this tunnel, they're both going to be redefined.
Yeah, it is true. I kind of sensed it in the primaries. I saw it in Pennsylvania during the primaries. I saw it in West Virginia. It just began to beat me over the head that there are some classic Democrats that will now be considered Republicans. And to your point, the parties are about to go through a major realignment that you and I, as old as we are, we have not seen in our lifetimes before.
Grumpy old guys, I get it. Listen, folks, we're going to go to a break, but when we come back, there is so much we've got to dissect here. So, folks, stay with us, and we'll be right back.
RenegadeRiver.com is new and used firearms, all priced to sell, plus ammo, reloading supplies, optics, clothing, lasers, and yes, tactical gear. RenegadeRiver.com. Family owned right here in Michigan because you deserve it.
Now, back to the Mike Hewitt Show on News Talk 1090 WKBZ and Talk 1230 WTKG.
The Mike Hewitt Show is brought to you by RenegadeRiver.com, and segment 2 has already begun.
Yeah, I think I jumped out of the gate. Like one of those racehorses that runs through the gate when it's...
Yeah, I have to watch a clock now for our little retweak, so I have to make a certain amount of time transpire.
That's what we are on the clock. I'm telling you.
Yes.
Yep, we're dialed in. Listen, off there, folks, we were debating who was wrong and who was right the longest. So Ludwig and Miles were ganging up on me, but I think I defended myself well.
No. People on live stream know that's a lie. Lion Ted over here.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. Cruiser.
Oh, that's too funny. Rotten people, I'm telling you. Well,
I don't know. I woke my kids up. I was screaming last night. They finally fell asleep. I woke them up. Paxton popped up, and I go, Paxton. He's like, huh? And I go, Trump won. He goes, he won? And then he went back to sleep. And they all three couldn't have been more excited that their person won. And yesterday, St. Mary's Catholic School, they did a mock election, and Trump won 36-8, I think is what they told me.
I don't know if that's indicative of the community at large.
No, just their school, but the 8th grade apparently was a little more Hillary slanted from what I hear.
Okay.
It was pretty cool.
Did Hillary won in the 8th grade? Or?
That's what I hear.
Okay.
We're thinking they're being rebels.
Listen, folks, we've got Congressman Bill Huizenga is joining us this morning. Good morning. Good morning, Bill.
Hey, good morning, Mike. How are you doing on no sleep?
Listen, I'm telling you, I was up till I was whining at the beginning of the show. I don't know how I'm doing it. I've about an hour and a half, 2 hours sleep, and I've decided one thing for a fact: I'm way too old to be out soaring, hooting with the owls, and then up soaring with the eagles. How about you, Bill? You were up probably most of the night, also.
Yes, I was, and a couple of late nights in a row after the rally on Monday night / Tuesday morning, and then a very busy election day yesterday, and then obviously very late night / early morning again today. So
you know, as I understand it, Bill, you were going all over the place and physically on the move.
Yeah, that's always part of. Always part of campaigning. You can't take anything or anybody for granted any year, but I think especially in this year, there was enough sort of new dynamics that have been influencing what was happening in this election. We went out and hit it very, very hard, and internally we jokingly call it the 2nd District Food Tour because it's you go where people are, and where are people? Typically cafes and coffee shops and restaurants and that kind of thing, and just out of just simple politeness, you have to eat a cinnamon roll at virtually every cafe, right? You have to sample all of the homemade good stuff. But so I'm also looking forward to my post-campaign diet starting.
Yeah, back to carrots and celery. Listen, first, I wanted to get into a little bit of the local results with you, but before I do that, congratulations to you on your reelection.
Hey, thank you very much. Yeah, we had a good, strong reelection with a high voter turnout, and that was something that we were working very hard to do, not just for myself, but to help the whole team, help the ticket up and down the ballot. So it looks like we were somewhat successful in doing that. We had a very good night. It was a good, strong night. Presidential years is a year where Michigan typically sees 1 million more voters come to the polls. It looks like it was even more than that, and oftentimes those are once every 4-year Democrat voters. And clearly, what we're seeing here with Donald Trump ahead by a nose so far, They came out and didn't vote for Hillary Clinton. They came out and voted for Donald Trump, and we had some benefit of that. We're trying to figure out exactly. I know in my home county here in Ottawa, I outpaced Trump by about 9 or 10 points. But we're still trying to put together all the numbers in all the different counties.
Sure.
But he had a good night. We had a good night. The Republicans had a good night. Holly Hughes up in Muskegon County, which 2 years ago in a gubernatorial year, she won by 240 votes roughly. She won by over 2,000 votes last night. So
right.
Those kinds of stories where there were some real toss-ups. The Michigan House was the next on the ballot. It was President, U.S. House, and then State House. And the Michigan Republicans had a good night last night.
Sure. Even in smaller races, use Lake County as an example, where it was 7 Democrats on the county commissioner, and now it's 5-2 Republican in control of that. And there was a Democratic sheriff. Now there's a Republican sheriff up there. So it had an effect up and down. I think coming into this election, you can tell me how wrong I am or right, but I think there was a lot of consternation with Donald Trump's different approach to politics that it may have an effect on us. And I think with the folks he brought to the table, it actually has been an asset. What say you?
Yeah, no, I think that's right. And having lived through a couple of these, watching it literally as a kid voting for the first time in 1988, and then those subsequent elections in 1990 when John Engler upset the unbeatable Jim Blanchard, 1992 with Ross Perot here in Michigan, winning 19% of the vote. There are those significant times and elections where people who haven't been involved and engaged go, hey, wait a minute, I can't allow this to keep going the way that it is. I'm going to get involved and engaged, and that has an effect on the parties. And let's flip this around. Can you imagine what the conversation is between all those Bernie Sanders supporters going, wait a minute, Debbie Wasserman Schultz cheated us out of this. The system was rigged against us, and we were told she's a lock. This is going to happen. Shut up and deal with it. And look now what happened. If there was a hardcore Bernie Sanders supporter out there, they must be wanting to beat their head against a brick wall out of frustration within their own party.
And you used the word rigged, which has certainly been a big word in this election cycle, but they've got to be absolutely enraged because they were cheated out of a lot of opportunity, and with the idea that she's going to be coronated, and that's just not the case.
No. Clearly, hey, as Mike Pence has a great line that he's been using in those last, I don't know, I think the 4 times that I saw him this past week here in Michigan. His line is great. He said they were on their way to an election and a coronation for Hillary Clinton, and then the American people showed up.
I like that a lot. Speaking of that, and we talked about you traveling, but I went to a number of events, and you were at every single one of them. You must be wanting to take a week off and recover.
I am, but Monday we show up in Washington, D.C. We've got and we start our business already. We've got a conference call a little later today to discuss as a Republican conference sort of lay of the land. It looks like we lost 4 seats, which is well beyond any projection. Even some of the lowest projections were 12 seats, 15 seats. There was some. Certainly, the Democrats were pushing this narrative that the Republicans were going to lose control of the House. We lost 4 of them, 2 of them in Florida, due to, frankly, a court mandated redistricting.
Right.
And then Bob Dole in Chicago area, who is in a Democrat +8 seat. Just to put that in perspective, that would be like a Democrat holding my seat in Congress, but actually even worse. I'm an R+7, meaning
right.
in a generic ballot, I should win by 7 points. So that was a big one, and then one right outside of New York City, and that was kind of a controversial local race in New Jersey with a guy named Scott Garrett, who I served with. So I mean that was surprising, frankly, to virtually everybody, and with a solid majority in the House, and wow, Pat Toomey and Ron Johnson winning in the Senate. That very unexpected for a lot of pundits. That's a solid majority there too.
No question about it. Listen, Congressman Bill Huizenga, he's given me all kinds of stop signs now, so I've got to go. but thank you very, very much for calling in. I know you're beat.
Hey, thanks. Thanks for having me. Have a little coffee and then get a lot of sleep.
Amen. Thanks, Bill. Folks,
bye-bye.
Folks, we'll be right back.
Renegade River, guns and ammo, and so much more. Old-fashioned service with surprisingly low prices. On M104 at the top of the new 231 bypass in Utica. Or find us at renegaderiver.com, because you deserve it.
The Mike Hewitt Show is brought to you by renegaderiver.com. Man, so many smiles around here lately. There just seems like a lot of the air has been let out of the stress, so to speak. You know what I'm saying?
I got to tell you, it was a wearing, for the folks that were involved in it, and I'm sure the folks that were just watching it on TV, it wore us down. It was like the never-ending drama. Listen, folks, one of the things we were talking about off air was, is there a civil war coming in the Republican Party? And candidly, we've been having that dialogue behind the scenes for several weeks, and I've been, what would you call it, reluctant to get into the debate leading up to the election. But listen, this is my view on it. I don't know if Miles, if we're near the same page now or not, but my view of a civil war in a political party is that the electorate just resolved it. And then the question then becomes, is there a retribution for the Bush family? Is there a retribution for Kasich? Listen, I think the Bush family, they're retired, they're done, they're cooked, they'll never have their name on another ballot. And that, along with that, I think John Kasich, when his term is over, is done. He came out in outrageous dissent from Trump, and I'll fight for his right to do that, and now it's time for the electorate to show him the door. And I don't mean that maliciously, but that's just the obvious next step. Miles and I have had this friendly debate since you've been on the show. Is it the people or the electors? Who's the, where's the party fit in all this? Folks, it's my personal belief that it is always the people's vote. I passionately believe that. So Kasich, I think he made a grand error. I think he overpraised himself. And I think his people are going to say, nah, we don't think we want you on our ballots anymore. You are done. There's the curb. Goodbye.
He made the worst error of all of them. Worst by far of all of them. He kept it going until the very last moment. He didn't stop. He was relentless. And
when the convention's in his own state, what an arrogant son of a gun.
Just thank the people for coming to Ohio.
No, and instead he went and gave really obnoxious speeches to the districts, one district at a time that were visiting there. Rather than in public, he would go to each congressional district that had sent their delegates and alternates there. Why would you do that? And
you know what, Mike? And I would even point out to you as a cruiser, even Ted Cruz came around.
Absolutely.
And he said, I'm on board. I'm going to go campaign. I mean, even Cruz did that. And you saw Cruz struggle at the convention.
Listen, I think Cruz made a couple he was already lost. It wasn't like it was a campaign savior, but I think he made a couple really grievous errors in the final couple weeks. In the end, though, I think when you say he came around, and you've always compared it to me, and I'm okay with that, from my standpoint, I support the process that we use. And I told you folks, Miles, in fact, the first show you came on, I will support the nominee of our party. I think the process is important. I think if we ignore the process, doesn't mean I have to like it, folks. I'm just being candid with you. But if we say, we don't like Kasich, who kind of suggested we ignore the process, airdrop somebody in. We had that conversation for 6 months, and Kasich was the chief promoter of it. But if we do those kind of things, we become a kangaroo republic, a banana republic. We become a joke. We do, and we have a process. We respect the electorate. We respect the American people, and in doing that, whether it's in a primary or a general, you go with what the majority said because that's how our system works. On the other hand, I don't want to forget to give you some other credit, Miles, because leading up to that, throughout our debates, you forced me, I might add, to watch what I didn't really want to see. And I think a lot of Americans get caught up in this trap, including myself. We watch the media and we watch the sources that reinforce what we want to believe. That's not the same as actually paying attention and diving in. And once I did, I thought, you know what? I think I like Trump too. So it wasn't that difficult to say, yes, he won, and frankly, he deserved to win it because he won.
Miles, I'm glad you came around because all the stuff he keeps telling you thank you for, I tried, and he poo-pooed me away. I mean, like, did you watch the video of Trump on Oprah? No. And then
wait a minute.
And he
wait a minute, folks. Listen, he's the guy. He's the guy, and Miles, now you're turncoating on me, but Ludwig is the guy that for months would oscillate back and forth between Cruz and Trump. And you and I joked him at the time, called him a Cruz Trumplican.
Because I was between you two going, which one am I going to side with here? I wasn't sure. I believed in the Constitution, so I was for Cruz. But I believed in what Trump was.
Remember, Miles, when you overboiled the macaroni noodles and they were just mush? That was his spine.
It was. I was undecided. I've told you before. Listen. I sat here.
They were so overboiled, folks. They just went right down the drain. That was his spine.
I was here between you and Jim Riley and said, I endorse Trump. Because you went, do you endorse him? I'm like, yep. And then I'm like, well, dang. I don't know if I'm going to vote for him, though, after I just endorsed him. Because I just don't know between him and Ted Cruz still. I did until the moment I went in. Okay, Cruz.
Listen, everyone agrees that you're wrong, but I do want to segue on to another topic. And I can't remember whether this was off air or in the last segment, but I want to make sure that we touch on it. There was a lot of concern over whether he had coattails or not. We did touch on it a little bit, but I want to drill in a little bit, if I might. Races like, if you look at Holly Hughes, who was definitely I don't want to say definitely not. She was a Republican candidate. I'm going to guess she wasn't a Trump-publican. I don't know that, her and I never talked about it. But she went from a couple hundred vote win in her last run and to a couple thousand vote win. And that was true like what I'd mentioned to Congressman Huizenga, all the way up to Lake County in the north end of the 2nd District, near the north end. They went from an entire county commissioner board that was all Democratic to now a Republican-controlled. That's coattails. I haven't heard the mainstream media or cable news use the term coattails. It's like that word's caught in their throat. They can't quite get it out. But the man had coattails. Miles, am I wrong?
Well, and you know what though, I don't know if it's necessarily coattails. I would offer for consideration. We've just gone through 2 terms of a Democrat president. And it's always difficult, other than my hero, Ronaldus Magnus. It's always difficult when you come off 2 terms of one party's dominance. It's just physics. The pendulum is going to swing back very violently.
I agree with you, but I would add, I think that President Obama really was the catapult in this. In many ways, his perpetual use of executive power that, frankly, in many cases doesn't exist. That's why he was in perpetual battle with the court system, because he was like the ultimate master of overreach. I mean, Trump is going to be busy for the first 2 months just ripping up executive orders, and things like you'd mentioned, Ludwig, earlier, when they had the very first meeting with folks from both chambers up, including McCain in that first run, and the president told him, "You lost. Sit down and shut up." That's not how outreach works, and it's not the tone that President-elect Trump took last night in his meeting, in his statement of acknowledgement that he's now President-elect Donald Trump.
Listen, I think that the media has not thanked him for the win for the Republicans to retain the House and the Senate, but they would have absolutely 100% blamed him if he had lost it. I got a text here saying Rand Paul singing his praises this morning for him in Kentucky. Rand Paul would have blamed Trump up and down had he not, but at least he's praising him. But I'm not hearing anybody directly come out and say Trump's the reason we held everything, because like you just said, it went from 200 vote difference to 2,000 vote difference. Well, he got the vote out, and if he didn't get it out, we did lose the Senate.
Listen, it's like John Van White said on the morning show here at our flagship station, that some of this goes to things like gun rights. There were pockets of people that are saying, what did she just say? You're not taking my guns. So it was even people outside the political prism that just wanted to maintain their constitutional rights. And I think that she made a number of errors, coupled with President Obama's perpetual overreach. And then listen, let's not take credit away from Trump, because like we talked about earlier, he really polished himself up and pulled to a nice, palatable, for most reasonable people, is what his campaign turned into in the final 6 weeks.
Does he have a mandate?
Yeah, I think he's got a mandate. It's because he held and or increased legislatures across the United States, including, they all thought, no, Senate's gone. Well, I think with that comes a mandate.
Yep. That's
my view. So listen, folks, we've got to go to a break again. We're up against a hard line, but we'll be right back after these messages.
RenegadeRiver.com is new and used firearms, all priced to sell, plus ammo, reloading supplies, optics, clothing, lasers, and yes, tactical gear. RenegadeRiver.com, family owned right here in Michigan, because you deserve it.
Now, back to the Mike Hewitt Show on News Talk 1090 WKBZ and Talk 1230 WTKG.
The Mike Hewitt Show is brought to you by RenegadeRiver.com, already into the third segment.
Is that the third or the fourth?
Oh, the fourth segment.
It is the fourth.
I can't even count. I'm so excited.
Very nice, folks. If you're just tuning in, we've got Ludwig von Wiedendorsky and Miles Bauer, myself, on deck trying to recap this election. And our guest is Trevor Loudon, who is a internationally recognized author, and I think libertarian is a word that comes to mind, and you're from the beautiful country of New Zealand. Trevor Loudon, welcome back to the Mike Hewitt Show.
Oh, look, thanks for having me on, Mike. It's a great morning to be on air.
Listen,
a weight is lifted from us all.
Oh, amen, my friend. Listen, and on that exact note, one of the reasons, the primary, I have two reasons I wanted to reach out to you, but the first reason is I'm watching the morning news and in the middle of the night news, by the way, and it appeared like Europe and all of the free world were all having a collective heart attack over our presidential pick in President-elect Trump. And so with your New Zealand heritage, I wanted to get your view. Is the world on fire, or are we going to be okay?
Oh, there can be problems, but look, I think a lot of the world is breathing a collective sigh of relief this morning. I've got contacts from New Zealand this morning just going, wow, this is such a relief to us. They were dreading a Clinton presidency.
And that's fascinating. Trevor, I got to stop you because that's just fascinating to me, because the media in the United States, as you are aware, they're telling us the opposite. They're saying the stock markets in Europe are going to world, and everyone's, I mean, the comments from the French president were outrageous in the middle of the night. I was stunned that he would make that kind of idiotic comment. I won't even give him the benefit of me echoing it.
Well, he's a major socialist, so what do you expect? Hold on, so tough. You can destroy your own country, but it doesn't mean Americans can destroy theirs to suit you.
They're calling it Trexit this morning. I saw that word all over the media.
Yeah, look, I've had good messages from all over, and the mood is ebullient. The mood is fantastic. The only negative thing from New Zealand is Ruth Bader Ginsburg says she'll move there if Trump wins. Well, what have we done to deserve that? What have we done to deserve that?
You folks are going to have to tighten up your immigration policy, same as Trump.
Yeah, well, exactly. There's no way that she should be allowed in. You should be stuck with her.
Oh, that's not very nice of you. Our country's not big enough for her. Hey, how about Australia? Can we get her to go to Australia instead?
Well, look, I wouldn't even do that to my Australian buddies. We have a bit of rivalry going, but we basically love each other, and I wouldn't inflict her on anyone.
Yeah, I've been watching the news for the last month, and everyone from Cher to Michael Moore and everyone in between, they're all packing their Samsonites this morning, and I'm waving goodbye.
I heard last night the website on Canadian immigration crashed because so many people.
I tried.
Half of Hollywood was trying to get on it.
Yeah.
I went and checked it out to see if it was real. It really wouldn't load.
It was down. Yep, that's funny. That is hilarious. And all of the airlines going in. Jeff Schwander is going to be awful busy letting folks across one of our friends who works at the Canadian border. So he'll be as busy as you can get. Listen, how do you think a Trump presidency will affect the world economy? What's your opinion of that, Trevor?
Well, I think there'll be a few hits for a while, like there was after Brexit, because the banking, the bankers loved Hillary, so and they want to just have their borderless world where they can do as they will, and that may change, or it will change to a degree. So yeah, it'll probably be a few hits, but I think that's a sacrifice we can all take, because in the long run, by rebuilding America's economy and putting America first, that's gonna help every free country.
That was my view, and I believe that's President-elect Trump's view.
That's weird.
So there could be some short-term pain, but I think the long-term gain will way outweigh it.
Things like immigration, is Zealand in agreement in general with some of the things that he's articulated for the United States, or what's your thought on that?
I think thinking New Zealanders are, conservative New Zealanders certainly are, and our own country has a very tight immigration policy, and that's very widely supported at home, So I think we all understand that America has a right to have borders. America is not the easy woman for the whole world,
I'm gonna borrow that one. I like that one a lot, Trevor Loudon.
America has a right to be America, and I think that's good for all of us.
And listen,
a strong America is good for every free country, and the victory last night has taken the world from a major disaster to hope again, and I think that's great for all of us who love freedom.
I'm probably a dinosaur in this brave new world, but I'm with our founders that said a government that governs closest to the people governs best, and that a country without borders is no country at all. So when I look at these issues, I tweeted out a few days ago that this was federalism versus globalism, and I love having New Zealanders as a friend of the United States, but I don't want our borders erased. I want to be friends with you, I don't want to sleep with you guys. I don't understand.
Don't you think that's a global thing right now, that really globally we're all saying we don't want globalization, we still want to remain ourselves?
I think that's exactly right, because folks get it.
The message is, England for the English, America for the Americans,
right?
France for the French, Italy for the Italians. Is that a radical message? Is that something crazy?
There's a lot of folks. There's a lot of folks though, Trevor, that really want to erase all of those borders.
Yeah, they do, and they've got a good smack in the eye last night, and they deserved it, because they're a bunch of scumbags, basically.
I remember now. You beat around the bush too much, Trevor.
Is their own wealth and power. They have no patriotism. They have no sense of national identity, and no loyalty to their own country. So, yeah, they got what they deserved last night, and congratulations to Mr. Trump for delivering it to them.
Great. Listen, we're down to just about 3 minutes left, but I want to use a little bit of that time, Trevor Loudon. You're working, or you've got a movie going on. What's going on with that?
Well, we have a movie out. It's called The Enemies Within, and it looks at, we say there's 100 members of your House and 20 members of your Senate, all Democrats who are so enmeshed in neo-communism, Marxism, or Muslim Brotherhood front groups, they couldn't pass an FBI security check to drive a school bus. and we're going to highlight these people. The movie is out now. It's called Enemies Within. Just go to enemieswithinmovie.com, enemieswithinmovie.com. You can see a trailer online, order the DVD. We'll be touring it in the new year, putting it in theaters in the new year, but this will shock Americans just how much of a bullet they have just dodged. We go into the Marxist, Islamic backgrounds of Tim Kaine, of Hillary Clinton, but a whole bunch of Congress members and senators who are still there. So we need to really get serious about internal security again and get rid of some of these traitors in our midst.
I do wonder, Trevor, how much of the electorate by percentage feel that they're represented by that ideology.
Well, I think a fair proportion does, but I think most Democrats are basically loyal, patriotic Americans, but they still think they're voting for Harry Truman and JFK.
Right.
You know, they do not realize their party has been taken over by the unions, who are controlled by the communists, and by the Muslim Brotherhood, which has infiltrated the Democratic Party to the very, very highest levels.
Trevor,
so
is there a place...
I think even when most Democrats see this movie, they will be shocked and will change their minds on the Democrat Party.
Is there a place where folks can find this information about you? Because I remember this as a book. It started as a book. I interviewed you about it a while back. But is there a place for our listeners to find information about you and your projects?
Yeah, look, go to trevorloudon.com, trevorloudon.com, and you can get my books online at Amazon. Just Google my name. Loudon is spelled Loudon. But I really, really urge people to see the movie because they will be shocked, and we need to take action during the Trump presidency.
Absolutely.
Clean out the internal enemies.
Trevor Loudon, thank you very, very much for joining us. Miles and Ludwig, thank you. Folks, thank you, and we'll see you next week.
Renegade River, guns and ammo, and so much more. Old-fashioned service with surprisingly low prices. On M104 at the top of the new 231 bypass in Utica. Or find us at renegaderiver.com because you deserve it.